Hello everyone. Hello. Welcome back to my channel. Now this is a live stream that we always do, to answer queries on our blog, which we receive on our website. So welcome to our next live stream. Let's wait for people to join in. So till then, let me just tell you, I am Shweta Garg, an image transformation expert and the founder of Dream Image Consulting and Behavioral Training Institute. And today we will be taking care of your queries on one of my blog. Like I said, blog on my website, and the blog topic is virtual presentation tips to make it interesting. So if you have not read that blog, let me just put that link in the description. So yes, so you can see the link on the screen. This is the link where you can go and go through the blog. And thank you to my readers, because of whom I have started this, where I can answer their questions, any concern, any query that they have related to the topic. Now, like I said, the topic is virtual presentation tips to make it interesting. When we talk about virtual presentation, even before the pandemic times, virtual presentation, online meetings, they had become a part of our professional lives. But pandemic has normalized it to another level. Considering the fact that how convenient and economical these virtual sessions are, they are going to stick with us, and we have to learn how to present ourselves in this new mode. So when it comes to giving a presentation in a virtual mode, it's not easy. Why I'm not saying why I'm saying it's not easy, because it can bring with a new set of challenges, right? Why? Because many of us might not be technologically sound, or are just not comfortable with the idea that we don't have that face-to-face connection with my audience, that physical contact with our audience. So whatever be the reason, uh, there are some of the tips that I have discussed, that I have made sure that I take care in my blog. But in today's session, I am going to take up the questions that I have received from my readers and explore this issue further. Now, I have a printout of the questions that I have received. Let's move on to our first question. Now, the first question is, one of the major challenges I face during virtual sessions is lack of engagement. Some people are hesitant enough to even open their cameras, leave alone interaction. What can be done to increase engagement? Very true. Engagement is the major challenge when we talk about virtual presentation. It's very difficult to involve everyone, and for that, all the presenters who are there online are struggling. But there are few tips that you can follow. Number one, be upfront and set expectations beforehand. When I say set expectations beforehand, that means you start with the session, and as you pick up with the session, let the audience know that they should get ready to actively participate throughout the program. Encourage them to keep aside all the things that will distract them. They are there to listen to you, right? So explain them, make them understand that if they will keep things aside which will distract them, like turn off no notification, close other applications on their browser. Why? Because they have limited time with you, right? And if they focus, they will make it more and they will get most of it. So you have to work out a way how you can encourage them. Also, the same thing what you can do is send this information in a pre-event email or an invitation email, or a however you are communicating with your audience, about your workshop, about your session. So make sure that you put a note there that they have to be camera ready. So it sets the tone for the training, for the session, and reminds the audience to focus. Number two is engagement. Now, it's when we are all talking about engagement right now. So engage with your audience within first 5 minutes. Because in any session, I'm not talking about online or offline, any session, any presentation, participation and engagement is the key. So in the first 5 minutes, that means ideally, that's the opening, the first 5 minutes, you have to integrate opportunities for participation to set the expectation. Request engagement from your participant throughout the session. Mention it again and again. Third tip is engage every 10 minutes. Now I said start engaging within first 5 minutes. Also, you have to aim to engage them every 10 minutes. Yes, true. Every 10 minutes, because when someone is listening to you, for them 10 minutes is like 20 minutes, right? So you have to engage them every 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be formal. Casual engagement works the best. That's how the audience will pay attention. They will keep on paying attention to what you're saying. And they also know that, oh, you can ask question anytime. How you can do that? Every 10 minutes, how you can engage them? Ask them questions. Like, what is the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about this topic? Or, okay, how many of you agree with me? Raise your hand. What is your biggest takeaway about, on what I'm saying or from the session? How many of you want to share the experience? Share in the chat box. This is how you are engaging them every 10 minutes. And next is wait for their response. See, when you're asking questions, it's your responsibility to wait for their response. I understand sometimes it becomes very difficult that your audience, they are not responding, right? But if you don't receive response, you will have to wait. You cannot move on without that, because if you move on without a response, you are giving a message to your participants that they don't have to answer your question. So instead of moving on, what you can do is, when you're not getting any answer, any response, try few tips like, tell them, convey this, that I am happy to wait for a few minutes because I know you all are thinking, and you are or someone is typing in the chat box and it takes time. Or reframe your question, make it more clear, make it more easy to understand, or make the question in a way that yes and no, they have to reply only that. Next tip is, whoever responds, you have to acknowledge them. Use their first name to acknowledge the participant. Like, suppose Sunil has responded in the chat box, so say, we have received a response from Sunil, and he's saying this. Thank you, Sunil, for your response. So when you are taking their names, your audience, your participants' name, you are rewarding them with attention. And what you're doing is you're positively reinforcing that, yes, I care about your response. And this way, you are encouraging other participants also to be more active, to be more engaging, and to be more responsive. Right? So these are few tips when you have to engage your participants. Let's move on to our second question. Okay, our second question is, I am a teacher and I had to take online classes since last 2 years. The biggest challenge for me was to be equipped with the technology, which is ever changing. Now, technology doesn't excite me as it does the younger generation. Is there a way around it? you know when COVID hit, I think many of us were struggling with technology, and we didn't knew how to do it. So yes, it is a challenge. things like, whenever we are sitting on the computer, we have a virtual presentation, things come to our mind. What if my computer crashes? What if my microphone, external microphone, is not working? What if my internet connection drops at random intervals? What if my video is not clear? So these issues are there, and obviously, they derail the successful event as well. Even worse, they make you look more unprofessional in the eyes of your audience. So we cannot completely, you know actually diminish these technical difficulties, but yes, what you can do is you can minimize these. How? By testing again and again, like test. Take time before your event, virtual event, to check your equipments. See that I hope my airpod is working, my how is my internet connection, my laptop is working properly. So the testing has to be done before the event. It should not happen that you are sitting there unprepared and suddenly some problem comes and you're like, okay, I didn't even check, right? So when you test it beforehand, you will have that confidence of knowing that you did everything you could do to prevent technical difficulties. Next is check your equipment, better equipment. If you have a faulty equipment, don't just wait that fix ho jayega, I will replace it later. Replace it immediately. And especially if you plan or if you host virtual presentations regularly, then you have to fix your things on time. Next is experience makes you better. Like I said, if you are someone who is hosting regular webinars, virtual webinars, so you get comfortable with both software and hardware, and you learn how to quickly fix issues when they come up. I just have to say, make technology your friend. Yes, things may go wrong, so have backups ready, such as another computer, internet connection. You know that your internet connection might go, so be prepared with Wi-Fi or mobile data, or you have an external dongle, then be prepared with that as well. Also, you can use the technology to record yourself when you are rehearsing. Show it to your friends and family and understand if you have to fine tune your content and delivery, right? So this is how you can minimize the technical difficulties. Let's move on to our third question. The virtual world limits us as a presenter. For me, I can't move around and experiment with my mannerism as much. How to overcome this challenge? Yes, I completely agree with you that virtual world has its own limitations, right? Majorly when it comes to your mannerism. Mannerism means because people are not able to see you. You're just sitting in front of the camera and people can see you, above your torso. So, to overcome this challenge, you should avoid few mistakes that we always do. Mistake number one, uh, being inflexible or machine-like. What does that mean? What happens when you are in offline live presentation? That means face-to-face presentation you are giving while sitting or standing. Yes, body language counts, but you have to understand that online also, virtual presentation also, body language counts. In fact, it counts even more. Why? Because you are distant from your audience. When you're distant from your audience, to build up that connection, you really need to work on breaking this barrier. That's when you will be able to build a sense of connection with them. How can you do this? By maintaining high level of energy and exaggerate gestures. Yes, exaggerated gestures. What does that mean? Now let me give you an example. While my virtual presentations, when I tell a story, I laugh a bit during sharing something funny in the story. And I have felt that this way my delivery is more personal and authentic, right? I consciously keep those laughs because now I know, I have noticed that this is what is making my presentation more authentic and more personal. So, consciously, when you keep things while presenting that I have to do this and that, so that is exaggerated gesture. Now, you might have noticed some of the professional speakers, while presenting, they will drink a cup of coffee, or someone will take off the jacket to maintain that natural style and encourage a feeling of intimacy. Why? Because they are being mobile. They are not. They are not being inflexible, and it's not a robot who is sitting on the chair and just talking, right? Because camera will anyways restrict your mobility. So that's what I mean by exaggerated gesture, but with maintaining a natural style. Mistake number two, what we do is poor eye contact. Now, obviously, when it's a offline or a face-to-face interaction, eye contact, it's that time also it's tricky, but yes, it's easier. But eye contact can be more tricky when presenting virtually. So do not make the mistake of looking away from the screen as you're seeing your own image of yourself, right? Because that can be very distracting. Instead of walking or looking around the room while presenting online, you should focus on leaning into the camera occasionally to enhance eye contact, right? Mistake number three, just talking, talking, talking. Don't do that. See, anyways, we are talking how engagement and getting attention of the audience virtually is so challenging. And for that reason, you know, online presentations should ideally be shorter. I just mentioned earlier that 10 minutes for a listener online virtually feels like 20 minutes, right? But if you want to hold on to your audience, you have to limit your stories. I would say approximately 45 to 60 seconds to keep the program moving. Customize your content, make it more digestible, strip down your slides to just one or two key points. Use more visuals. Your comments should boil down to more interesting points. Now comes mistake number four, ignoring other non-verbal gestures. Do not make a mistake of not using other gestures. That means use your hand to add emphasis to your point. Smile to make people feel welcome. So if you ignore these few mistakes, then you will be able to overcome the challenge of, you know, you're not displaying your mannerism. Okay? Let's move on to our next question. So the next question is, I find the virtual world very impersonal. It doesn't bring in the same energy in me as an offline presentation. How can I accept this new normal? Yes, it's not the problem only with you. Majority of the people feel the same. But that's the fact. New normal is all about webinars, virtual meetings, virtual workshops, basically everything online, right? But let's be honest that it's still not the same as having an in-person conversation. So virtual world can feel less personal. But who has to work on this? This is the new normal. We have to accept it. We only have to work on making our events feel more personal. So you have to work on it. How can you do it? You can be more passionate. When I say more passionate, you have to present with passion. That means it's your material, it's your content, you have prepared it. So be excited about the material that you're sharing. So your audience, your attendees will automatically and naturally feel closer to you, you know. Why? Because you have that enthusiasm, that energy, and that will pass on to them. Next tip is don't try to overfill the room. Now, in a virtual setting, if you personally feel that, the connection is missing, then, try hosting smaller gatherings. You should not fill the room with 200 people. Just fill the room with that many number when you feel that, okay, fine, I can attend to each and every one, and I can, speak to them. I can feel more connected, and it will be more personal. Next is work on your voice tone, your pitch and pace. Now, when we talk about presenting virtually, that means, yes, body language. Like I said, we have to take care of body language, but obviously, your full body is not visible. So that's when importance of your sound. That means your voice tone, your pitch and pace becomes a lot more important. So do some vocal and facial exercises to warm up all those muscles, right? Be very conscious of that I have to change my tone for emphasis. Also, don't forget to pause. After every key point, just give a pause. That silence, it is incredibly powerful, because that's when you have emphasized on the key point. So these are the few tips on how you can accept the new normal and how you can work on making it more personal. Next question. How can I make my PPT more interesting and engaging? Is there any other way I can present my content? Okay, when we talk about PowerPoints, in today's world, PowerPoint and other slide presentations, now you can make PowerPoint to Canva also. So they have become a very essential way to share information, be it offline or online. Why? Because it's easy to use, very easy to use. There are so many good inbuilt features now. You can combine images, you can put videos, text, and it requires almost no training, right? So that's why PowerPoint has become very important when we have to share information. But certain things you have to keep in mind when you are making a PPT. First is, don't cramp your PPT with a lot of information. So don't put too much of text, right? Don't stuff all your information into your slides. That's a major mistake, because that's when your slide will look more cluttered, overcrowded. Your presentation will be boring and difficult to understand. Believe me, with less clutter on your slides, your message will be more powerful. And what else you can do is, you can use visuals. Anyways, PowerPoint is a visual medium, right? People are not there to read text from your slide. They are there to listen to you. You are presenting important information. So present information with visual. That's the best way. Also, it's scientifically proven that people actually absorb information faster and remember it better for a long time also when it is presented visually versus text. So not only will your audience enjoy your presentation, they will get more from it. And you will also feel good. So it's a win-win for both of you. What else you can do is videos. Add videos to your PPT. Video is a very easy way to make your presentation. Usually PPT, which is very boring, very dry, it will get a life with a video. Videos will help you to capture your audience attention. it will help you pace your presentation also. It can help you emphasize your points. Also, the best thing, it will give a break to your listener from the monotony of listening to you. Right? They need that break. They have been listening to you from so long. So that's what videos do. Also, what you can do is you can use animated GIFs. So in PowerPoint, you can put GIFs also. There are many practical uses for these animated GIFs today. You can demonstrate a process, you can show cause and effect, you can depict before and after comparison. Also, GIFs add humor. So use animated GIFs in your PPT. But always remember that you should be aware about the GIF size. If your GIF is longer than 30 seconds, then better put a video. Don't put GIF. Right? So this is how you can make your PPT more interesting, more presentable, and your listeners will be more engaging when you will present this kind of PPT. We move to our next question. How can I grab the attention of my audience in virtual presentation? So I think the first question was also about this, the engagement, and this is also same that how can you grab the attention. Let me just repeat it again. So you can grab the attention of your audience by improving your style of virtual presentation. Now I have given many ideas on PPT, on the tips on engagement, but I'll repeat one or two and I will add some. So what you can do is you can work on your style of presentation, virtual presentation. You can work on your language. Language means your linguistics. The first is you can ask questions. Like I mentioned earlier, that you know find several points in your presentation where you can involve your attendees. You can invite them to talk, like share relevant experience. What did you take away from the this section that we are talking about? Do you want to add some point or some yes or no question? Ask questions to them. That's how you can grab the attention. Next is vocal pitch, your tonality. So variation in your vocal pitch, because when we are face to face, like, we often rely on body language, the gestures, eye contact, body movement to keep things interesting. Yes, body language is important in virtual presentation also, but your sound, your tone, your vocal becomes more important. That becomes your asset. So as a speaker, you should vary your pitch. This will grab audience attention, and that's the best way to keep audience interest and communicate that I am excited about my topic, I am enthusiastic about my topic that I'm presenting. Then filled pauses. You can also, we spoke about pause, but let me mention that you can fill your pauses with like mm, uh, you know uh-huh. In other words, why? Because this communicate that you are thinking. Someone has asked the question, if you fill your pauses, that means you're thinking hard and searching for what you want to say, a relevant point. And then comes your intensity. Be intense. You have to, you know uh, vary your pitch. You have to get that variation in your pitch, but along with that you can use intensifiers. What do I mean by that is, someone in your audience gets up and asks you a question or puts up a point or share their ideas, so you can use certain words like incredibly, so, absolutely, really, very. These are the kind of intensifiers. Now, what do? They increases the perception that, oh, the speaker is in control and he or she, the presenter, knows what they are talking about. They are certain. So you are actually communicating enthusiasm and excitement, right? This is how you can grab attention of your audience. Let's move to our next question. Even if I want to have a discussion, it is only one or two individuals who are ultra responsive. While most of the people avoid even turning their cameras on, how can I increase their participation? Turning the cameras on, yes. That is also very challenging when it comes to virtual presentation. Why this happens, uh, as a speaker, you also have to understand that why your attendees are not turning their cameras on, because they do not understand that simply having their videos on will improve their engagement, right? When they will turn their camera on, they will want to appear attentive and engaged, and automatically the connection and engagement will build up. But if they are not putting their videos on, so you have to encourage your participants to use videos, and that can be very tricky. The first point that I'm going to say is, I have already mentioned in the start, that set this expectation in advance in an email. Whenever you are sending an email or communicating with your attendees about the workshop, seminar, or the presentation that is upcoming, so tell them that they have to be camera ready. Put a note there. So you have given an advance notice, and this will help them to be sure that they have the right setup, the camera is working, and they know that any moment I have to turn my camera on, right? Also, when you start the session, ask participants to turn on their video at the beginning of the session, and give them a reason why it is important. You have to tell them why you are asking them to turn on their cameras, right? Whoever turn on their videos, thank the participant by taking their name. Like I said, you have to acknowledge the attendees. So this is the positive reinforcement, and it works wonders. This is how you can encourage them to turn on their cameras. We move to our next question. How should I dress up for a virtual presentation? Oh, this is dressing up. This question many people have in their mind, when we talk about dressing for virtual presentation, because you're not visible, your full body is not visible, right? So you have to take care of many things. Few of them are what? Your backdrop. You have to be mindful of the backdrop. What color is your background? Because you don't want to end up wearing the exact same color that matches the backdrop. Now, suppose my background is white. So, if I wear white, I will blend in. Then there is no, you're not looking good on the screen. So, make sure that you create contrast. For that, bright clothing should be worn. For camera, you should use jewel colors because they're bright. Like, I'll give an example: blue, bright blue, turquoise, royal purple, rich green, um, aqua. So these are few of jewel colors, the bright colors, and they look phenomenal without distracting the audience. One more thing, you should not wear pastels. Like I said, bright colors, no pastels, because they will make you look dull, washed out. Now, if you want to wear white, one, you have to take care of the background. But suppose if your background is bright and you want to wear white, right? Try not to wear pure white, because it creates a little bit of reflection. So cream or off-white is a better option. Also, take care of the patterns. Do not wear clothes with too bold patterns. Why? Because it is very distracting for the audience. As a presenter, as a speaker, you should not wear bold patterns. Don't wear anything which is distracting to the eye of audience. Being a woman, if you're wearing accessory also, you have to see that it's not too loud, that it's distracting my audience. So this is the dressing that you have to, some tips on dressing that you have to take care when you have to come on the camera. Our next question. This is the last question. It is recommended to read the room before starting a presentation. How to do so during an online presentation? Yes, when we are giving an offline presentation, when we are there face to face in a room full of audience, it's always important to read the room, right? But when we talk about virtual presentation, to read the room, you have to look for the same things that you look for in face to face gathering. So only difference is what? Instead of body language, you are focusing more to the tone of the voice. So if your participant is there and they're talking to you, with your tone you can gauge whether they are attentive, whether they are engaged, or the connection is built or not, that enthusiasm is there in the participant or not, right? If you have asked them questions, so you have to gauge your audience that are they thinking, brainstorming, and they're brainstorming that what should I say or what should I put in the chat box, or they don't want to reply. You have to gauge that how many people are replying, a few, most, or pretty much everyone is replying. So this is what you have to gauge in an online presentation also. Now if they are thinking, brainstorming what to write in the chat box or what to say, it's okay. There's no problem. You can wait, let them work, let them think. But if the letter is happening where there's no activity, they don't want to reply, then as a speaker, as a presenter, you have to create opportunities. You have to come ahead, involve them by putting in breakout rooms, use whiteboards, use annotation tools, which are very good for engaging your audience, engaging your attendees. Use group discussions, use live question and answer Q&A, quizzes and polls. So you can use all these collaborative tools to involve them, right? Okay, so this was our last question. I hope you enjoyed the session. I have tried to answer all the questions that I have received, and thank you to my readers again for sending your queries. We will be coming up with more of these sessions on our blog, so stay tuned, and we promise that we will keep on adding value to your life. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you.